Hello! Today I wanted to talk a little bit about grow lights and why you should use them when starting seeds indoors. In the last video I showed you just quickly my grow lights. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more on why you should use them and why it's a good idea when you start seeds indoors. When you start seeds early, it's usually because you either want to prolong the season, get things started earlier than you could outside, or because you're growing something that doesn't really belong in your climate. I had these chili plants here. I started these chili plants in my living room window where it's warm enough to get them going. At this time of year, they don't get enough light from the sun, and as you can see, they start stretching towards the window. This means they will end up being long and thin and weak. To avoid this, I want to give them light from straight above and for more hours of the day. They really do turn towards the light, as you can see in this 2-hour time lapse. Not only don't they get enough light here, it's also too warm. So the best thing to do now is to move them to a cooler place with lots of light. What I do is move them outside to my glazed balcony, which is frost-free and usually a few degrees warmer than outside. It also warms up gradually as spring temperatures rise outside. Now my setup is pretty cheap and simple one. There are all kinds of ways of doing this. Since I made these a couple of years ago, for instance, LED lights have become much cheaper and readily available. So that's one option to look into, which I'm not going to talk about today. I have fluorescent light tubes. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind when doing this. As I mentioned in the last video, always try to get more space than you think you need, because you quite quickly fill this up. These are just 2 crops, chilies and onions, and I want to get some brassicas in too, and perhaps a few other things, and I'll already be full. Try to put the lights quite close to what you're growing, because we're trying to simulate the sun here and it's hard to do with electric light. If it's too far away, it doesn't do much good anyway. So when I started doing these, I read that you shouldn't use just ordinary light bulbs. Well, they're hardly around anymore, so it's not much of a problem. The reason is they're too weak. It's the wrong light color, and they produce too much heat. Now these fluorescent light tubes, they're a cool white color range, and that's important because you want to create the right kind of light for what you're growing. If you're growing flowers, you want something else, but if you're growing vegetables and greens, you want a cool white light range. You just put the plants on the outside, just on the edge. They'll still try to lean in towards where there's the most light. So if you can get an even spread, that's all the best. Now this construction here is just, it's my potting bench, which I converted to a sort of grow bench. Just put some leftover boards up here, and I just mount the lights on them. So I'd say I have about 30 centimeters up there. These plants won't get too tall, but when I put the brassicas in, if I don't get them out when I want to, they usually stay a little bit longer in here than I actually intend, because you never have enough time to do things when you really want to. So I can fit quite a few things in here, and as soon as I can, I'll get the onions out. So perhaps I'll I can fit some of the later indoor sowings and just wait until the onions are out. Now that's it for this video. I hope you had some use of the information here. I just barely touched on the subject, but I think it's a quite important thing to do to get some lights on your seedlings, because yeah, they'll fare much better with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.